Hello and welcome to today's live daily lesson with us here at AM Language. It's a lovely day in Malta and it's very, very hot outside. So if you are going to go outside today in the afternoon, definitely go to the beach. Make sure you get to swim because it is hot. I hope all of you had a good weekend. And as well as enjoying your lessons. Yes, I hope you enjoyed your morning lessons today. And if you had an intensive, I hope you had a good intensive lesson as well. LBS.com, good afternoon. Lovely to see you join the lesson today. I had a lovely weekend. Thank you very much. I had a very good weekend. What did I do? I met some friends on both evenings, actually. So that was lovely. Right, I'm just going to share today's lesson and we will wait for some more people to join us. If you are elementary or up intermediate, wishing you the best of luck for your level test tomorrow, where you'll be doing a test. Of course, it's been a long time since you guys took a test. So this will be your first test since the end of lockdown for you guys. So it'll be a great way to see where you guys are, how you guys have come along, how you've progressed. Leondina says hi. You too, Leondina. Good afternoon. Irina F says hi. You too. Hi, Irina. And Evelina as well says hi. Good afternoon, Evelina. Welcome to today's lesson. Lovely to see all of you here. So this week we've got some interesting topics we're going to cover today. Irina, the other Irina, spelt differently, of course, says hello as well. Hello, Irina. Lovely to see you here this afternoon. So yeah, this week we've got some interesting topics that we're going to cover. We're going to look at how to talk about yourself. Now, this can be quite difficult at times. It can be difficult to talk about it even in your first language at times. What I'm going to look at here is how to talk about yourself, develop your range of vocabulary, and how to present yourself well. I think that's the idea. And we can always put it into like a context, like a job interview. Which would be helpful because tomorrow's lesson, it's going to be on how to answer job interview questions. I do recommend coming along to tomorrow's YouTube lesson. We will be looking at how to answer typical questions in job interviews. And we'll look at a few different types of jobs. Jobs that you really want and jobs that you just need as well. So we'll look at the different types of jobs and how that the questions might change and how you can answer those questions. We'll then also look into some email writing. That's it. Wednesday is going to be email writing in the workplace. Thursday, what did I say for Thursday? Thursday is, I have to open it up now. I can't remember what I had written for Thursday. Yes. Thursday is a difficult one in the sense it's going to be grammar. Thursday is how to use should. So we're going to go into depth a little bit of how to use the modal verb should. And then Friday, we'll finish off with an easier lesson, I think, with film English word building. So it's an interesting week of lessons ahead with the YouTube lessons. Stefano says, good afternoon, dear teacher. Good afternoon, Stefano. Welcome to today's lesson. Okay, we're a good number, so we can begin. So what I'm going to start off with is, as we're going to be talking about how to talk about yourself, is we need to think a little bit of brainstorming. Okay, so things that you perhaps, how to talk about your, I'll tell you what, we're going to look at different categories of how to talk about yourself. So I think obviously the first thing that we should probably learn to do. And we'll put this in a work context, so you guys know how to answer this question if you go along for a job interview, because it's important to know. Okay. I think the first one that we would need to look at is experience, knowing how to, it's good to know how to talk about your experience. Okay. And with experience, you've got things to do with knowing your, to say what your skills are, and what you have learned. This is quite an important one, what you have learned. So that comes under experience. And then the other type of thing is being able to talk about in terms of knowing the type of person you are. So how you work in a team / on your own. So this is where you get to talk about, okay, what do you bring to a team? Those sort of answers. How do you work on your own? So there's lots of language that we can look at. And finally, at the end, we can also, if there's time, we'll look at interests as well, how to talk about your interests, which can be a little bit difficult. So the first thing we need to know is experience. And one of the things we must get right here when we talk about experience, I'm going to mainly focus on building language, but I just want to make sure you guys know this. It's really important that you know that you get when you speak English, you make sure you know the difference between when you need to use the present perfect and the past simple. Now, we've looked at this before, but just as a quick reminder, experience. So if we're talking about, if we use the present perfect, we're talking about the result, okay, in some sort of way. And if we're providing any detail, that's when we go into a past simple. And it's important to know that we get the basic grammar here right. So you're going to talk about your experience. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my experience with you, and then you guys can share your experience with me. So you can write it in the live chat section. I'm going to use myself as an example, and you guys can follow. So LVS Comms asks, what about your strengths and weaknesses? Well, that's a really good question, and we will look at that question when we get on to what your skills are, what you have learned, and how you work within a team. So thank you very much, LVS Com. We're going to save that question, because that question is a question that we have to ask later on. And we'll look at that question probably again tomorrow, maybe, but that's an excellent question. We'll answer that soon. So the first thing that we need to be able to do is obviously talk about your experience. Okay, so let's first of all know how we can talk about our work experience. I think that's a good place to start. Now, the important word here that we need to know, relevant, is relevant, meaning we need to make sure that the experience we are talking about is relevant, meaning linked to it is linked to the job that you're going for, if possible. And I say if possible because it's not always possible. But we want to talk about our experience that is makes sense, or is the closest thing to that job that you're going along for, if possible. Like I said, it's not always possible. So let's look at a type of job that you could get, for example, in Malta, a popular job. Now, a popular job in Malta, where there's probably quite a lot of good, you can earn quite a good salary as well, is in iGaming, for example. And in iGaming, you've got a combination of, I mean, a popular one is customer service. So we'll look at that service, okay? We'll look at customer service jobs, for example. And I think the reason why customer service is quite a good one is because it's your job is to talk to people, and customer service it covers a large range, because it doesn't matter if you've worked in a cafe, in a bar, in a restaurant, in a school, in a hotel, whatever it might be. If your job has involved you've had to talk to people, it covers a really wide range, so it's easier to link past experiences to the job that you're going for. Okay, so how do you talk about your experience? Well, like I said at the top, if you're talking about your experience, you mentioned the job, and then you go into skills and what you have learned. So let's just first of all think. I'm going to ask you guys, what skills do you need when let's say, in customer service jobs? Let's just see what you say, okay? What skills do you need in customer service jobs? Now, for example, one skill you would probably need to know how you would need to have is probably let's say, I mean, today you need a certain amount of technology, so skill in using online communication tools, for example. That would be a skill that you would need to have in a customer service job, for example. Now, so that's an example. Let me know in the live chat if you guys can think of any skills you need in customer service, for example, or a job that involves talking to people. Obviously, language, that's another one. You need to be able to speak that language to a certain degree. That always helps. So I'm just going to give you my answer in terms of my answer would be, and let me know in your live chat, in the live chat section, how you would answer. I'm going to write my answer as well, so you can see the way I'm talking about myself. So you can say, in my case, I would say I've had let's see. LVS.com says to be a kind person, patient, and a good seller. Yeah, I think those are good skills to have. LVS.com, kind person, patient, and a good seller. I think those are good skills to have. I'm sure on I know we've got some students who are very much into psychology. So I imagine, if I recall, I think Irina and Leondina, I might be wrong, but I think if I remember correctly, both of them like psychology. So maybe they might have some interesting comments to say about the type of skills you need when you are in customer service or talking to people. The kind person as well. It'll be interesting to hear what some people might say about that. Stefano says capacity to take care of the customer. Yeah, that's a good one. It's quite an interesting answer, because it's not a specific answer, because it depends what that capacity is, but it certainly gives you the idea that, okay, a person who knows how to focus on the customer and what the customer needs are. I think that's quite a good way of of putting it. Being able to focus on the customer's needs, and that's quite an important one. I think that probably that links into listening as well, knowing how to listen to customers. So that it probably, I mean, it's a nice answer between LVS.com and Stefano. So how can you answer it? Well, in my case, I would say, right, so I've had a few jobs that has given me experience with dealing. Let's go with, I've had a few jobs that have, because this is a plural, have given me experience with dealing with customer needs. Okay, I think the important word here is deal in this. Deal, which if you need to deal with something, it means what's the simple way of putting it? I've had a few jobs that have given me experience with dealing with customer needs, experiencing of how to react. I think in this context, that's the best way I can put it. To react, of how to react to, in this case, customer needs. Stefano says, I'm referring to the capacity to sort out their problems, skills in customers' problem solving. Well, yeah, I think problem solving is a skill. You can put problem solving down as a skill in itself. It's a very good skill to have. And therefore, if you have that skill, I would definitely go with it. So we've got, so far, I would say, in my case, I would say I've had a few jobs that have given me experience with dealing with customer needs. And then you want to own the question a little bit. So this is when you give an example. So, for example, I learned. So this goes back to what I said before. Talk about what you've learned. So I've learned I've learned how to speak to different type of people as a result of teaching. So here again, now I'm going into, you can see I'm giving some detail, not a lot of detail, but to give that detail, I'm using the past simple. I learned how to speak to different types of people. Sorry, I forgot the S there. I'll do that again. Can't be having typos like that. Different types of people as a result of teaching. As a result is a really good bit of language, and it simply explains why or how. So it's a really good linking. It's a good linking bit of language. So you go in with your present perfect, and then to give some detail, you can come out with your past simple. So I've given you a very simple example here. Let me know in the live chat how you would try and answer this question. We've come in with a little bit of skills. We've spoken about that. We can put in with your present perfect at the beginning, and you can give a little bit of detail using the past simple, which is really important. Now, of course, we're not going to go into a huge amount of depth, but I want to make sure that we cover the main points. And I do want to make sure I have enough time to answer LVS.com's earlier question of how to talk about your strengths and weaknesses as well. Now, if you haven't had a customer service job before, don't think you can always probably find some experience that ticks that box. Maybe you have very good social skills. Okay. Maybe you have very good social skills because of some activities you would do at university, at school, maybe some courses. So that's when you can also, you don't always necessarily need to tie it to an actual job, because you might not have had that job, but I'm sure you can find some past experience whereby you can say that, okay, I've got this experience because of what I did at school or what I did at university. So it's really important to know how to do that. But don't forget, guys, when you start off by talking about your experience, you go in with the present perfect. And then when you give a little bit of detail, you use the past simple. And that is something that's really important. Okay. If you want to give a little bit more, maybe you want to give an example, for example. Oops, I used that twice. Maybe you want to give an example. If you want to give a further example, you need to remain in the past simple. So maybe you could say, in my case, I would say, in 2017, I joined AM Language. And it was a great opportunity to learn how to manage both teachers and students. Okay, so there you can see I'm now going into even more detail. I've given the year, and again, you can see now with the detail, I'm giving past sim. I'm using the past simple, and that's a really important thing. Stefano says, I have learned how to speak slowly and clearly when it comes to English. As a result, I managed to be understood by foreign people. Stefano, that's a really good answer. That's a really good answer. Well done. I like your combination here. So you've gone in with your present perfect, and you've used some good linking words. And I like the way you finished it off as well. Like, as a result, I managed to, as a result, that's a great use of language. As a result, I managed to be understood by foreign people. I think the only thing, and this is really small, by the way, I think the only difference I would change here is I perhaps, instead of manage, I would say I can be understood. I think can, the reason being, can is quite strong, and when we use the word manage, we have to be a little bit careful at times with the word manage. I mean, the context. I mean, look, the meaning is not lost at all, Stefano. Absolutely not. But I think that's one of the cases where you kind of think to yourself, what would be the even better word? So manage is fine, because the meaning is clear, but I think can might be. I think can might be the better one. The reason being is that can would be saying this is an ability, which is what you're effectively talking about, and can is it's a modal verb, so it carries a little bit more weight. Probably handle. If you use handle, it would have a different meaning completely. You would handle is manage, but it's not an ability like being able to understood. You would say you can handle difficult situations. So it's not just being able to talk to people, but you can manage difficult situations. So handle, I would use handle when you're trying to give an example of something that's not basic, but more difficult. Elvius.com says, I have worked in customer services for 5 years. That experience helped me developing my skills to solve problems, managing customer accounts, and establish effective relationships with clients. Elvius.com. Okay, in terms of your choice of words and trying to explain yourself, I think this is good. There are a few, you've gone for the right words. In some cases, it's probably not the right form of the verb, but the meaning is not lost. So that's why I'm actually really happy here. The meaning is not lost. So although there are just a few mistakes, the meaning's not lost. The meaning is very clear. So well done there, LVScom. I like the fact that you started again. You started off with your present perfect. You've gone in, and then you've tried to give. You've actually automatically tried to switch into the past simple a little bit with that experience. And this is. Let me help you out here. This is what I would change. Okay, so I have worked in customer service for 5 years. I'm not going to put services, just customer service as a general, because we're not talking about when we use this type of job description, a job position. Usually you just go with the singular rather than the plural. So I have worked in customer service because that's the branch of the job for 5 years. That now here you have to remain in the present perfect. That has given me experience in helping and developing my problem solving skills. New sentence. I have, again, you want to stay in the present perfect. I have managed customer accounts and established effective relationships with clients. Okay, so what you can see here, LVScom, and anyone else watching, when you start off in the present perfect and you're continuing in that same sentence, be very careful about changing your tense. My recommendation is if you start in the present perfect, stay in the present perfect, and then maybe link it to a present simple, for example. So here we have the present perfect. I have worked in customer service for 5 years. That has given me, so you need to stay in the present perfect here, experience. Then you have this, in helping and developing. You have to go with the gerund version of the verb here. My problem solving skills. And that is the same thing that you were saying. But as you can see, the grammar structure is a bit different. We have to be consistent. And then because you're still talking about experience, new sentence, stay with the present perfect. I have managed customer accounts and established effective relationships. Here, what you can see is this is an example. So I have managed customer accounts and established effective relationships. It's again, we've gone in with the present perfect. But a good answer nonetheless. Okay, guys, now let's look. I want to try and now get on to answering LVScom's previous questions, strengths and weaknesses, and this we can link to talking about how you work with team and on your own. Okay, and one of the tricks is how to talk about your weaknesses positively, and that can be a little bit of a difficult thing. I think you can link weaknesses to a few things. So let's start off by about how to talk about your strengths. Okay. Words to use. Okay, you could use I'm good at. I can. I'm capable, which is a bit better. I'm capable of verb plus ing, which is another way of saying I can do something. I am experienced in plus verb ing. Let's see, what other words can we use? I know how. Okay, so when talking about yourself, you want to mix up your language a bit. You don't want to stick with saying I'm good at or I can. You want to mix up your verbs a little bit. So think of maybe 4, 5 examples of things that you know how to do and mix it up a little bit. So I'm good at, I can, I'm capable of doing, I'm capable of writing, I'm capable of speaking, I'm capable of listening to, I'm capable of adapting. I'm capable is it's a really good bit of language to know. If you're capable of doing something, it means you can do it and you can probably do it well as well. So capable, capable. I'm capable of doing. This is another one. I'm experienced in dealing with people. I'm experienced in using Mac computers. I'm experienced in meeting customers speaking to people from different parts of the world. I know how to do something. I know how to use this. I know how to use that. So this is why this language is really good to know. So I'm going to give you some of my examples, and then I would like you guys to give me some of your examples. And I want you to try and give me at least 3 different examples, but don't use the same language, okay? So, for example, I could say I'm capable of giving lessons to any level. I'm experienced in using IWBs. Now, IWB is the nice board in the classroom. And I know how to teach exam classes. Okay, so that would be my example. So I'll write that down. So I'm capable of teaching any level. I am experienced in using IWB boards, and I know how to teach exam classes. So that's just an example. Stefano says, I'm experienced into being tolerant towards people. Okay, I'm experienced in being tolerant towards people. So you don't need into there. The preposition is in, and then you go to your verb. So experienced plus in plus verb would be ing. So you don't want into. You're experienced in doing something. Okay. So yeah, you can say you're experienced in being tolerant towards other people. You can say you're capable. I mean, a good one to know is I'm capable of using marketing tools, for example. Like there are a lot of really interesting marketing tools. Actually, let me know, guys, if you want me to at any point do anything regarding English for work, and you want me to look at specific tools that can help you with your job. Maybe it's in marketing, and you would like to know some. You would like to have a lesson on various things. Let me know. I'm more than happy to make to do a video on that, or if needs be, to make little short videos on something like that. So let me know in the live comments. There's lots of interesting tools out there. I mean, if you would like me to give you a lesson, to create a lesson around how to use certain marketing tools like Hootsuite, for example, which is a famous one, let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. Okay, let's see if anyone else would like to come in, and then we'll talk about the negatives. And the negatives can be a little bit difficult, but this is how you talk about your strengths. You mix it up. You use capable, experienced, can. You don't want to always stick around with good, for example. Stefano says, I'm skilled in writing and speaking. You don't need in English. You can actually drop the in there. You can just go straight with, I'm skilled in writing and speaking English. You don't necessarily need the in. I like the way that you went with skilled. I think that's a good way to go in. And I didn't put it down as an example, but anyone else watching, Stefano has used some really good language there. You can write, I'm skilled in, and then your verb ing. Leondina says, I'm good at organizing work and accounting. I think if we could improve on that, you could say, okay, I'm good at accounting, for example. Just thinking about work, because work is very general. I would say what you can do there is give some examples of work, because work is quite general. So maybe you've got organizing, you've got accounting, so maybe managing, for example. So I'm good at organizing, managing, and looking after the accounts, for example. So it's a good start, Leondino. Well done. That's a really good start. But there's definitely something that you can build on there. Okay, some really good stuff. Now let's look at weaknesses and how to talk about weaknesses. My recommendation is go with a weakness that you can turn into a positive in some sort of way, if you can. So let's say, first of all, words that we can use when talking about your weaknesses. What would be the typical weakness that you could use? Actually, it'll be easier if you guys give me some ideas of the type of weaknesses that you might have in mind. So let me know what you think your weaknesses are, just with some simple sentences, and then we'll look to see how we can talk about those weaknesses. I'll put my weaknesses in here. I'll put one. I would say confrontation. Okay, so you are okay. What I've done. So for me, one of my weaknesses, I would say, is managing or dealing. You've got two options here: dealing or managing. Confrontation. Confrontation is when someone is aggressive, maybe with their words or physically. It doesn't. It doesn't. Maybe the person gets angry, but the important thing is they're not just a little bit angry. You feel that the situation is maybe a little bit dangerous to deal with, maybe because of the aggression side of things. So in my case, I would say what's the best way to talk about your weakness? Yeah. I'm in the process of learning how to manage confrontation in the workplace. So you can use this term, I'm in the process of, plus verb ing. Now, why is this important? Well, if you say you are in the process, it's effectively saying you are learning how to. It's not a can't, and that's really important. You're not saying you can't do something. You're saying you're learning how to do something, and you have started that journey of learning how to do something. So you can do this with anything. Even computer skills. So maybe you don't think your computer skills are amazing or really good. You can say, for instance, I'm in the process of learning how to improve my computer skills. So it shows that you're not at the bottom, but you're somewhere on the ladder and you're climbing. Stefano says, I'm no good at dealing with children. I have no attitude to iGaming. Okay, I see what you're saying there. Instead of attitude, you would say, what's the word on my appetite? Yeah, instead of attitude, you would say appetite. I have no appetite. You have no appetite for iGaming. That's the more appropriate word to use. I'm no good at dealing with children. Okay, I imagine you wouldn't go along to a job interview that you didn't want to where you didn't want to work with children. But let's say you're not good at dealing with certain people. I would say, again, I'm no good is really strong. I think a different word that you can use might be, I can struggle with dealing or managing something. Okay, I can struggle. Or in this case, let's say children, just for example, managing children is out of my comfort zone. Now, comfort zone is a good one to know, guys. Managing. Comfort zone is a really good word. It's a good term to know when you're talking about your weaknesses, because you have your comfort zone where you know how to do something very well, and you can be out of your comfort zone. And if you are out of your comfort zone, it means you don't know how to do something very well. Again, you're not saying it's impossible or you can't. You're saying it's just not your comfort zone. And in many cases, you can still do something that's not your comfort zone. So it's a good one to know. Let me know, actually. Let me know what certain things are not. Let me know of anything that you can describe as not being in your comfort zone. I'll give you guys a few minutes, and then that will bring us to the end of today's lesson, where we have talked about how to talk about yourself. It's an important one to know. If you liked this video, let me know if you would like to know how to talk about yourself in a social environment. So here we've been looking at very much at work, but we haven't looked at how to talk about yourself in a social environment. So if you would like to have a lesson on how to talk about yourself in a social environment when you're meeting new people, let me know. Either write in the comments or like the video, and let me know if that is something you would like to have a lesson on. And Leondina says, as I run a restaurant, I don't stand children going up and down. I'd have to work on it. Okay. As I run a restaurant, I instead of don't stand, I can't stand, meaning I can't tolerate. If you can't stand something, it means you can't tolerate. It annoys you. It really annoys you. So that's what I would recommend going with. Instead of don't stand, can't stand. Children going up and down, I'd have to work on it. Okay, I think that's a good answer. Okay, guys, well, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. And I'd like to thank all of you who have participated in the live chat comments. I think you've done really well. I'd like to thank Leondina. Well done. You've done some really good stuff here today. Stefano, you too. Well done. LVScom, thank you very much for your participation today. As well as Irina, Evelina, and the other Irina. Thank you very much for all watching and participating in some sort of way in the live chat comments. As for everyone else watching, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and share the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. You too, Evelina, thank you very much. And you too, Irina, thank you very much. So guys, thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow at the same time. And tomorrow we're going to look at how to answer some job interview questions, including the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? A popular question that is often asked. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful afternoon. And if you're at school tomorrow, I will see you in the morning at some point. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.